beyond the headlines to examine the tangible impact on business from the rising tensions between the US and Venezuela. For those joining us publicly, this opening segment is being live streamed on our YouTube channel and LinkedIn page. It will be just the opening component of it, however. To really be able to benefit, you need to have registered and be part of this discussion in the Zoom room. Okay, this topic is not just relevant, it is urgent for the resilience of our regional private sector. We are privileged to be joined by 4 esteemed panelists, each bringing vital perspective, and I extend my sincere gratitude to them for their time and insights. So we are happy to welcome back Reshma Advani Rojas, the Managing Director of Advanced Commercial Equipment, who really contributed powerfully to our very first session in this series. We are pleased to also have once again Mariano Browne, Chief Executive Officer of the Arthur Lockjack Global School of Business, who addressed geopolitical issues for us at our 6th global conference held in early November. And we are delighted to introduce, for the first time on a CCGI forum, 2 pivotal regional voices. Emile Leiba, President of the Jamaica Chamber of Commerce, and Captain Gerry Gouveia, Chairman of the Guyana Private Sector Commission. So I will provide full introductions to our panelists shortly. At this point, I would just like to set the context for us to proceed. Last year, when we began this conversation, we outlined 3 potential scenarios in the US-Venezuela tension. 1, direct conflict. 3, a protracted standoff. And D, a negotiated deal. On January 3rd, scenario 1 became our reality. The geopolitical ramifications are profound, but we leave that to the political analysts, who are the experts in that field. Our focus today is the boardroom. The shockwave from this event has turned theoretical risk into an immediate operational and strategic challenge for businesses across our region. This point was captured powerfully in a recent article published on LinkedIn by David W. Duffy, co-founder of the Corporate Governance Institute in Ireland. His headline asked, 2026, what should chairs do now? He argues that a responsible chairman cannot afford to wait. They must convene their board now to ask one central question. Is our governance fit for purpose to meet this new uncertainty? He outlined 3 key areas for boards to scrutinize, from supply chain profiles and financial resilience to the very composition of the board itself. The goal is to move from agile governance. It's to move from oversight, to agile governance, from worry to actionable plans. So, because the purpose of our discussion today is really precisely this shift, our challenge is to move from a boardroom worry into a structured business analysis, and to provide you, our participants, with practical insights and actionable strategies for what you may do the next 30 days, 60 days, 90 days from now. So our conversation will tackle very real implications: shipping volatility and inventory planning, strategies for supplier diversification, navigating sanctions and trade financing, and fortifying the governance frameworks against political risk. So, to our panelists, thank you for adding your voice to this vital exploration. I know that there's no one answer, but it is important for us to have this conversation to raise the many perspectives and arrive at common ground for us in the region. Now, before I invite the panel to come and make their contributions, I want to take a moment and wish a Happy New Year to everyone present in the room, especially our CCGI members, many of whom have joined us for today. Though it promises to be a challenging year ahead. I think together we certainly will have the skills and ability to meet with this effectively. For those of you who are joining us for the first time, and there are a few, CCGI was established as a nonprofit membership organization in 2012. We currently enjoy over 300 members from a range of private and public sector organizations across the Caribbean region. Today, our membership includes persons from Jamaica, Barbados, St. Lucia, Guyana, Belize, the British Virgin Islands, St. Martin, Suriname, and of course here in Trinidad and Tobago. And through our bundle membership with JMMB, we also have members from the Dominican Republic and Colombia. There are lots of benefits to being part of a vibrant organization like ours, including benefiting from discounts to our trading program and being an active voice, contributing to how we can improve leadership and governance to achieve sustainable outcomes for our region. Persons may join us as individual members, or your companies may choose to pay for bundle membership, which can cover from 6 to 12 members. And as we get ready for our panel discussion, I do have some very quick housekeeping announcements, which is familiar to the many participants who are frequent attendees of our CCGI sessions. Remember, we need you to have your name, your full name, correctly captured on your screen, and this is because we are in a virtual room together. This is not a webinar, so persons are easily able to access others in the room, so we need you to be identifiable. We also ask everyone to keep their microphones on mute throughout the session until we get to that Q&A period. And when you are invited to speak, please mute your microphone as soon as you are done to minimize any disruptive noises from your background. And we will put a survey link towards the end of the session, and we appreciate it very much if you take 2 minutes and give us your feedback. As a matter of fact, this started as a one-off panel discussion, which evolved into a series based on the feedback from our participants. So we are always happy to try and understand what your needs are and how we can do our part to fulfill. Let me also thank our CCGI team that is providing support today. Laura Sinanan, who helps manage the room logistics, Quantrell De Silva, who is running the live stream, and Monique Romano, who will post the survey link later today. And now to introduce our panelists for today. Their very illustrious profiles are in the detailed agenda we sent to you via email this morning. Laura, there was a small error. I picked up only very late last night in the agenda. The time that we end today's session is 1:30. I had made the change on Canva. Can you please download that version and share it on the chat for everyone now so they would have the updated agenda with all the correct information. And it also has the order in which our speakers will proceed today. I would now like to briefly introduce our panelists. So we begin with Reshma. Reshma Advani Rojas is the Managing Director of Advanced Commercial Equipment Limited and CEO of the Odin Group of Companies, a fast-growing multinational in food service and hospitality solutions. With over 2 decades of experience in designing and outfitting restaurants, hotels, and institutions across the Caribbean and Latin America, she has built a reputation for turning complex operations into profitable, scalable systems. Known for her candid, witty style and forward-thinking approach, which, by the way, for anybody who is interested, you will get all of it on LinkedIn, where she has an amazing series of articles published. Reshma blends business strategy, design expertise, and leadership development to drive growth in emerging markets. And when she's not building companies, she's building leaders, mentoring women, founders, and executives to think bigger and move faster. Our second panelist is Captain Gerard Gouveia Jr. known to many, of course, as Captain Gerry. He is one of the leading figures shaping the future of aviation, business, and national development in Guyana. As the Director of Aviation and Security for the, is it Roy Rama Group of Companies? I meant to ask you that, right? Roy Rama Group of Companies, thank you. Captain Gerry brings a dynamic combination of operational excellence, generational vision, and the public-private sector leadership to the forefront of Guyana's transformation. He currently serves as Director of Aviation and Security with the Roy Rama Group, Chief Pilot for Roy Rama Airways, Director, Omni Helicopters Guyana Incorporated, and of course, Chairman of the Private Sector Commission of Guyana. And as chairman of that private sector commission, he leads Guyana's foremost business advocacy body during a historic period of growth and geopolitical importance. He is a trusted voice on national security matters, aviation regulation, and regional business strategy. So we are so pleased that he has chosen to make his first appearance here with us on a CCGI forum. Our third panelist, I'm not sure that Emile is here with us as yet, because as I indicated to the panel earlier, he did indicate that he will be joining us a little bit late, but I would still want to read his profile so when he comes in, he can just blend seamlessly into the discussion. So Emile Leiba is the president of the Jamaica Chamber of Commerce, the immediate former managing director of the firm Dunn Cox. He's also a former president of the Jamaica Bar Association and is the first appointed chairman of the Disabilities Tribunal. He is a member of the Board of Management of Tax Administration Jamaica, the chairman of the First Instance Tribunal of the Betting, Gaming and Lotteries Commission, a director of the Planning Institute of Jamaica, and has over 23 years of experience as an attorney at law, practicing in the areas of employment law, commercial litigation, and maritime law, acting for international and local clients, appearing in the courts at all levels, including the Judicial Committee of the Privy Council. And if that were not enough, Emile is also a former marathon runner and a triathlete. So for anyone who thinks that their plate is too full, it helps to see how some other people are able to get that much more out of their 24 hours. And now we come to Mariano Browne, someone who really is no stranger to us at CCGI and a voice that's also valued and respected in the region. Mariano is the Chief Executive Officer of the Arthur Lockjack Global School of Business at the University of the West Indies. He is also chairman of a management consultancy firm, Elida Management Services Company Limited, and is a director of several companies. He is a chartered accountant by profession and is a former government minister. He held 2 cabinet portfolios, Minister in the Ministry of Finance and Minister of Trade. He currently hosts a weekly radio program and writes a weekly column in The Guardian on topical matters in business and economics. And I have to tell you, Mariano, I do look forward to reading some of those columns sometimes because they're really, really quite thought-provoking. And also, of course, he continues to lecture at the Lockjack Global School of Business. So I want to say a very warm welcome to all of our panelists. I really can't wait to hear from all of you. So we will begin with Reshma. And Reshma, I am particularly keen to hear of how you are planning with your business following this January 3rd moment, and if you're willing to share, what are your 30-day, 60-day, and 90-day plan? So the virtual floor is yours for these next 8 to 10 minutes.
Thank you, Kamba, and good morning to everyone. I'm very much going to stay in my lane because my lane is the one that gets hit first. And when the world gets nervous, we are the ones who take the brunt of it. Now, I am not a foreign policy commentator. Certainly, there are far more qualified individuals in the room. I'm just a Caribbean business operator that is running a company that depends on shipping schedules, on fuel costs, on access to US dollars. On top of which, I'm actually in the middle of a growth spurt. So the uncertainty isn't abstract, it's actual operational friction that I can measure in dollars, in days, and in delays. So when people say geopolitical uncertainty, my mind doesn't go to the theater of it. It's plumbing, right? Like the operational side. So what ports remain reliable? How quickly do insurance clauses change? How fast do banks tighten? Because that is our conversation for governance. Not because boards need to become political, it's the opposite. It's because volatility is now an operating condition for us. So governance is supposed to be the part of the organization that doesn't flinch when the plumbing kind of comes apart. I was lucky enough actually yesterday to attend a session at the Chamber of Commerce, and Dr. Marlene Atz, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, spoke yesterday, and she was so eloquent. She captured it better than any headline. She reminded us that in the Caribbean, risks don't arrive one at a time. There are simultaneous equations, to quote her. And energy volatility becomes fiscal pressure. Fiscal pressure becomes forex vulnerability, which then becomes higher import costs. So that chain reaction ends up in our households and on our balance sheets at the same time. But what really stuck with me was her framing of a certain phrase. She called it the black swan. So that low probability, extremely high impact event that rearranges the landscape before the quarterly report has time to dry. That's what's happening right now from our first session to now. The black swan has come to pass. And we are seeing that when you look at escalating tensions in Venezuela, and you hear a giant like ExxonMobil publicly label our neighbor as uninvestable, that is that black swan landing on our doorstep. Now, uninvestable is a heavy word, right? In my world, it's a signal that the surrounding narrative might be loud and promising, but the commercial predictability is not there. So for those of us caught up in like the concentric circles of global disputes, we can't be afford to be guided by the enthusiasm of the moment. We have to be guided by data, the data of the risk. So I didn't wait for today's panel actually to start preparing. I've already had that one issue board meeting that David Duff recommended. Because in 2026, waiting for a scheduled meeting is how you end up acting late while pretending you're acting responsibly. So in that session, in my own session, I insisted upon an exposure map that was honest enough to make people uncomfortable. It wasn't an academic risk register. It was a plain language picture of our dependencies. So if we can't say clearly where our freight, our fuel, and our forex are concentrated, we're not resilient, we're just hoping. So we look specifically at financial corridors, for example, which banks fund the trade, which insurers underwrite the shipments, because in that volatile period, the pipe doesn't have to break for you to lose the flow. You just need one valve or one new little regulatory hurdle. So we asked if our primary corridor becomes restricted tomorrow, what's our 48-hour move? If we haven't mapped the plumbing of our money as clearly as we've mapped the plumbing of our inventory, we are exposed. But once you see that map, you get to design like second doors. So we are currently securing real alternatives for critical categories. So alternate suppliers in different jurisdictions, alternate sea lanes that avoid high-risk zones. And let's be honest, this is not glamorous. In fact, it's expensive, and you pay a little bit more for redundancy. You hold a little more inventory than like the lean model suggests. And you definitely cannot boast about it immediately on your balance sheet. In a normal year, second door looks like inefficiency. But the day a corridor becomes a headline, which it has, that redundancy becomes the best money you've ever spent. As a business owner, I'm telling my board, We are trading a little bit of margin today for the certainty of existing tomorrow. But at the same time, we are tightening our governance around compliance and reputational risk. Because when tensions rise, that financial system becomes very conservative. And this is not the moment to improvise. It is the moment to have clear documentation and decision rights so that you can move faster than the crisis. I